Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to our Mystic Road Trip. And this is a podcast where I take a deep dive into mystical things and I talk about crystals and herbs and tarot and ley lines and anything you pretty much would put underneath that woo-woo umbrella. That is where I stand. And so if that's something you're interested in, this is a great podcast for you. By the way, my name is Kim. I am a tarot reader, an astrologer, a holistic dietitian, a life coach, a meditation guide, and just lover of anything mystical, magical, and spiritual. I am on a trip. I am on a road trip myself, and I want to bring you guys along. And hopefully, the road trip I'm on is meant to help me find my spiritual path and enlighten myself a little bit more. I think knowledge is power, and so learning everything I can is something I'm into. And I think by doing that, I can find my path, and hopefully, maybe some of you guys can find some of your path too along with me. As always, guys, if you want to get a hold of me, there's ways to do that in the description box. There's also ways to support the podcast. At the very least, I would appreciate you rating, sharing, liking, reviewing, doing all that kind of good stuff. It does get the algorithm going and will push me out to more people, and that is amazing because eventually I'd like to have a community where I'm not the only one driving the bus. In other words, I'd like to be able to have guests on and chit-chat about some of this stuff and really get some insight from outside of my brain, I think that would be pretty cool. There you can also check out the meeting publication that's linked in the description box. Now, I will say it has not been as fruitful as I would like it to be, but I think starting in March, it's going to get back to being on par again. There you can find a bunch of information about a bunch of other stuff. Also, if you are into history and into women, check out my other podcast. There's a link in the description box as well. And that is called Where All the Ladies At. Basically, I try to figure out where the fuck the women went in history. So if that sounds cool to you, check it out too. Alright guys, so this is Monday's episode. So what that means is we have a topic that's based in some sort of magical, mystical, spiritual thing, as well as we start the podcast off with something I like to call our week in the stars. This is basically where I take a few astrological movement in the sky and kind of give you some idea of the energy and how you can use that energy to make to the best of your ability, right? So this week's topic is sign modality. Now, when I say sign modality, a lot of people are going to be like, what the fuck? But really what that is it just is talking about the cardinal, fixed, and mutable signs of the astrological chart. There is 12 astrology signs. And I know that's controversial. I know some people think there's now 13, but I still go old school. There's still 12 in my mind. And that means that there are 4 signs in each of these. So there are 4 cardinal signs, there are 4 fixed signs, and there's 4 mutable. And we'll go deeper into that once we're done with our week in the stars. So let's get started with our week in the stars, shall we? Okay, we're going to start with today, Monday, February 17th. The moon in Libra is going to trine the sun in Aquarius, and then later in the evening, the moon is going to enter Scorpio. So what does all that jibber jabber mean? It's going to be a good day to keep your emotional balance and social harmony kind of in check. They're going to balance each other very well, right? The moon in Libra tends to be a lot about connection and partnership and seeking peace, and the sun in Aquarius is about innovation and individuality. And when they align in a trine, which is like a very harmonious aspect, it's a good time to express yourself in the ways that feel super authentic to you and supported by others. This energy is going to flow pretty effortlessly. So it's really great for group activities, creative collaborations, and just putting some ideas into motion, right? When the moon moves out of Libra into Scorpio later in the day, it's going to create a shift in the mood. Scorpios are very intense. The sign is very intense and very deep, and they focus on like transformation. Their planet is Pluto, right? So I think as the moon transition, you're gonna find like this desire to like dig deeper in your emotions and relationship, maybe even like unsurfacing some hidden truths, or maybe reevaluating areas in your life that just you feel are a little stagnant and need some change. Once the moon moves into Scorpio, it's really great for introspection and like emotional healing. But don't get too caught up in the emotional extremes, because that is another thing that does sometimes come with the energy of a Scorpio. So I think with this day, guys, I think just really embracing cooperation, and the optimistic energy, especially when it comes to social events. As the day progresses, though, you may feel that the energy shifts, like I said, and so maybe during the day it's a good thing for that, but maybe later in the day it's time to kind of like isolate yourself and really have a little reflection moment and that kind of thing. It's going to be interesting to balance that intellectual air energy with Aquarius, with Scorpio's more emotional depth. So just like I said, maybe during the day it's a great day to collaborate, but maybe later in the afternoon, in the evening, it's just a good time to take a little time to sit and reflect, journal, do whatever it is that you do to reflect on areas of your life that maybe, like I said, you're feeling a little stagnant and you feel like there needs to be some change. All right, so now let's move to Wednesday, February 19th. Mercury in Pisces is going to square Jupiter in Gemini. Now, we all know squares are not great. And I know that's overall sentiment, and it's true. It basically means you're going to be in the ring squaring up against each other, right? With this combination, you're going to find that there's going to be a tendency to overthink and a little bit of confusion. Mercury is very, especially when it's in Pisces, is very dreamy and intuitive and emotional. And then with Jupiter in Gemini, you're going to find that the ideas expand and communication can kind of be scattered, and maybe a little chance of exaggerating. So maybe this day is kind of a good day to kind of just make sure you take a deep breath before you say anything. Because there is the squared aspect, it's going to really create a disconnect between these energies. And that could potentially lead to misunderstandings, exaggeration, when it comes to your thinking, and maybe even some mental fog. So you may feel like your mind is going 50,000 miles an hour, but all in the different directions, and it's just really hard for you to focus. This is a good time to be mindful of how you communicate because of this, right? There may be misunderstandings with your words, or maybe you're going to misinterpret something somebody else says. At the same time, it's also good chance to be creative and think outside the box, right? But I think the biggest thing I would say is just don't get lost. Don't get lost in the sea of possibilities or take on more than you can handle. This is a day to one step at a time kind of idea, right? I think keeping your expectations in check and avoid rushing into big decisions. This is why I said it's a great day to like take that count of 5 before you answer anything. And if you're unsure about things, I would say also be like, hey, you know what? Like, I'll get back to you. I just need a little bit of time to think about it. Just don't make any rash decisions. But do tap into your creative side. Just don't let that creativity disconnect you from reality. Basically, the best thing I could say is stay grounded and take your time when you're communicating anything, right? Because you don't want those misunderstandings. All right, so now I want you guys to remember I do my podcast. I release my podcast on Monday, so my week is Monday through Sunday. So the next day we're going to talk about is Sunday, February 23rd, and Mercury is going to be in Pisces. It's going to trine Mars in Cancer, and then Mars is going to go direct in Cancer. This is a really great day, right? Energizing and harmonizing. It's going to be intellect and action working together, right? Mercury and Pisces forming a trine to Mars and Cancer. So communication and mental focus are going to align with your emotions and your instincts, and it's going to be a good time to make some inspired changes, right? You may find that intuition is really up on this day. Words and ideas are really going to flow super easy. It's a good day to tackle any projects that require emotional insights and clear communication. Mars going direct in Cancer also brings a shift in the energy a little bit. So if you felt kind of stuck or unsure in terms of taking action, especially when it's about home, family, or personal security, you're going to find the courage and clarity to move forward on this day. Mars direct helps you take bold, intentional steps. And Mars is all about action. But in this case, with focus, especially on matters of a deeply personal level, because it is in Cancer. I would say trust your gut this day and communicate straight from the heart. Don't let your mind get too into the mix. If you've been waiting for the right time to like do something or that feels really emotionally important, it's a great day to just step out and do that. Make sure you channel your energies though into projects that require mental clarity and emotional strength. And don't be afraid to make any decisions that really feel truly aligned with you. This day is all about that. So it's a great day for conversations with people or changing up some patterns and doing all that kind of thing. So I definitely think Sunday, February 23rd is a pretty cool day. All right, guys, and that is our week in the stars. Hopefully it helps you out. Make sure if any of this stuff rings true, I'd love to hear it from you guys. You can always reach out to me via my social media. I have Instagram and TikTok in there, linked in the description box. All right, guys, so what we're talking about today is modality. Now, here's the thing, what I'm going to say is that when we talk about astrology, typically almost everybody knows their sun sign. But there's so much more to this than just your sun sign, right? Every zodiac falls into a different modality. So cardinal, fixed, or mutable. And these can give us clues about how to approach life and handle challenges and interact with the world. In other words, if you really dive deep into it, you can reveal how you need to take action, how you need to react to change, how we keep things moving, right? So let's talk a little bit about it. Why is understanding your modality so important? So it's kind of like that personal instruction guide that you have, right? It helps you see why you act the way you do and how you can navigate this. Look, we all have strengths and challenges, but knowing what modality your sign is in can help make a huge difference in how you do it. So for example, let's just do a sample. If you're a cardinal sign, right? You might often feel like the urge to start new projects, but get very frustrated when things slow down, right? Understanding these tendencies can help you find ways to follow through on your ideas and avoid burnout. On the flip side, if you're a fixed sign, you might find yourself stubbornly holding on to something that's no longer working. And realize this can help you try to learn how to be more flexible, right? If you're a mutable sign, understanding your adaptability can be great, but knowing that you can sometimes get distracted will help you maybe create systems and things like that help you stay more focused. So it's this that's really important, right? It's when I talk about these things, I'm really wanting you to understand that you're working with your natural tendencies. Yes, life happens. This is why one of the things I always say when I'm talking about astrology is I can tell you, I'm a Capricorn, right? A Capricorn sun. Okay, cool. Here's the traits of Capricorn, right? Here's my natural things, right? But you also have to look at other things like your moon and your ascending, right? But that being said, if I just looked at my sun, I can see it. However, life sometimes alters that, right? So I'm supposed to be really great with money, but because I grew up with no money, I'm not great with money, right? That's not true because I am very good with money. But this is the things. So your modalities can help you understand your natural tendencies. Knowing your signs and where everything falls in your birth chart can help you understand your blueprint. But life happens and sometimes that blueprint gets altered. It's that simple. So, but understanding it is still a good thing, right? Even if I was an architect and I had a blueprint and I decided to change some things, having the initial blueprint is still going to help me understand how the building's supposed to be structured, right? It's the same thing with astrology, or at least that's how I look at it. Let me know what you think. All right, so let's break it down. We're going to look at all three types of modality: cardinal, fixed, mutable. And we're going to talk about a couple of the natural tendencies that come with these, all right? So cardinal signs are known as the trailblazers. if you're a cardinal sign, it's probably a good idea that you are oh my Lord, in my notes. I was looking at my notes. All right, so if you are a cardinal sign, and that is Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, one thing you have to know is all modalities have one each of the elements. So if you look, Aries is fire, Cancer is water, Libra is air, Capricorn is earth. So every group will have one each of the elements, okay? So if you are a cardinal sign, you're probably someone who's always kind of ready to take the reins and want to make things happen, right? The cardinal signs tend to be like very naturally born leaders, doesn't like to wait for things to kind of unfold. They just want to take charge, and that is both at work and in social situations, and personal. You're the one who steps up to get things moving. So you've got an knack for spotting opportunities and all that kind of stuff. When it comes to projects, you're the one who always is brimming with fresh ideas. You're an idea person. Cardinal signs are idea people. You're the ones just new ventures and things of such. You don't want to wait around for someone else. You want to take initiative. You actually enjoy being the one who kicks things off, right? You enjoy that. But once the momentum is there and things are up and running, you might find yourself losing interest because you've already moved on the next big idea or challenge. So with cardinal signs, there is a tendency to maybe start a lot of different things, and then kind of once they start plateauing out, it gets very boring and you want to move on to the next thing. Cardinal signs do tend to thrive on action and excitement. And once things set under routine, they feel like basically you feel like you're stuck, right? So that's like if the project starts to drag on, you want to change direction or change the way you do things. Like that's it. It gets frustrating when things feel stagnant. And you'll do whatever it takes to reignite the idea. But the desire for constant movement can also be a double-edged sword, right? One of the challenges of cardinal signs is that while you're excellent at starting things, it's hard to stick around, right? You're great at getting things started, but once it's rolling, you don't want to have anything. So sometimes they can seem a little flaky. You love to lead, but not maybe at the same passion level. So the key to making the most out of cardinal energy is about finding a balance between your natural gift for initiation and follow through that's necessary to bring your ideas. So it's about learning how to channel your enthusiasm, starting new things, and really understanding consistency. You don't have to become a master of sticking with every single project, but understanding when to step back allow others to maybe take over some of the things. That could be a really, really big game changer. It's also about finding ways to keep your energy and passion alive as you press through a project. Maybe that adds new challenges, whatever it is. Just keeping things fresh, I think, is the biggest thing I would say for cardinal signs. In the end, cardinal signs are initiators, they're trailblazers, they're natural leaders. The world needs people like them to get things off the ground, right? But their strength does start with starting things, and they need to learn how to be a little bit more patient and stick with things. I am completely in my big three. So that's the sun, the moon, and my ascending. I am a cardinal. I'm a cardinal, baby. And I can tell you that idea of starting new things is definitely true. And trying to stick with them, once they become boring or routine, it does feel like a challenge. Which is why, and this is just a personal note, which is why for me, relationship wise, I do so well with air signs, in particular Gemini, because it's never the same with them. It's never the same. It's always interesting. And so it keeps my cardinal sign interested because they're always changing. It's very mutable. So that's just on the side. And for cardinals, I think you're going to find that that's probably true. I think cardinal signs do very well with mutable signs. And that's just my opinion. Don't come at me if you have other opinions, but that's just my honest to God, like my personal. I've tested it. I've tested it a couple times. I do much better with mutable signs. All right, now let's talk about fixed signs. So fixed, right? They're the steady ones. They're the ones that like they're ride or die kind of thing, right? And that is Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. So fixed signs, rock everyone. You're like the rock, right? You're reliable and you're steadfast. And unlike the cardinal signs, who love to start new things, and mutable signs who can easily adapt to whatever comes their way, you're the one who sticks with it. You're very, like I said, ride or die, and that's in every aspect of your life. You like consistency. Once you commit to something, it's you're there for the long haul, and sometimes that's good, and sometimes that's bad, guys. So you see things from the start to the finish, and no matter how long it takes, right? You're basically the glue. People know they can count on you, and that's a quality that's hard to come by, right? Your ability to stay grounded is one of the best traits of a fixed sign. When you're saying you're going to do something, you're going to do it. That's just whatever it is. You're the person who shows up, and that's awesome. The consistency doesn't just make you dependable, it makes you trustworthy as well. People know they can rely on you, and they often do. But while you do have loyalty and reliability are pretty impressive, being fixed also can sometimes make change very, very uncomfortable. Fixed signs tend to like things as they are, and do have a tendency of resisting any kind of alteration to their routine or environment. That goes from everything from work to family to whatever, Change can feel unnecessary sometimes to you, and you might have a hard time understanding why things need to be shaken up. This can sometimes lead to a bit of a stubborn streak. A lot of fixed signs are very stubborn. Because you don't like to deviate. You don't like to deviate from your plans. Why? If it's broke, don't fix it, kind of thing, right? Your focus and dedication are valuable, but sometimes it's you have to find that it's worth loosening up a bit and really accepting that not everything has to stay the same, right? And the world around you is evolving, and if you don't evolve, then you get lost in the track, right? Of course, being open doesn't mean abandoning your values or becoming someone you're not. It just means, being willing to evolve and kind of go with the flow sometime. When fixed signs can learn to balance their desire for stability with a little more flexibility, they are formidable. They are maybe some of the baddest bitches in the planet, right? Flexibility, of course, doesn't mean, like I said, for abandoning commitments. It just means learning to navigate through change without losing your footing. And it adds to the reliability and the trustworthiness that comes with it. It shows an adaptability that's pretty awesome. Now, in the end, fixed signs are dependable. They're steady. You can count on them. Loyalty is an awesome strength. Learning to adapt and flow with change will make it even better. And with that balance, you'll have the best of both worlds. I will say that because they're so loyal, and sometimes they are like they want to stick it out when it comes to relationships, sometimes fixed signs ride out relationships way past the time that they're supposed to be. And that's just kind of, the trustworthy, dependent want to stick through it. It's not bad, but also it can sometimes hurt them. So finally, let's talk about the mutable signs. The adapters. That's Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. Here's what I'm going to say. The mutable signs are very chameleon-like. They can thrive in change and uncertainty and unpredictability. Cardinal signs are ones pushing for new beginnings. Fixed signs want steadfast, but mutables, they just adapt. They've got an uncanny ability to blend without breaking. They bend without breaking. In the U.S. we have them outside of like used car places. The little like air guys that go like this. Yeah, that is a mutable sign. That's how I always picture the mutable signs, right? They're very much like if something happens and it's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? They're like, okay, slow down. We can figure this out. And then that's it. They use their superpowers, they flex, they adjust, and they make things work, right? Mutable signs have this natural gift for handling whatever life throws it their way. And they are not fazed by change. They know how to roll with the punches. The other signs might get stuck, but not them at all. But there's more. Here's the thing. There's more to being mutable sign than just being flexible. Also, they tend to be very much perpetual learners. They're very curious. They love to explore new places and new experiences and learn new things and diving into different perspectives. If something gets too repetitive or predictable, they're the ones that are going to be like, oh, what about we do this? And that's why I said for me as a cardinal sign, mutable people are amazing. Are amazing because I don't get bored. And that's important. They love to explore. They have this, like, they are the adventurers. They are like I said, the adapters, but they're also adventurers, right? They like when life is interesting and they want everything to fuel their creativity. They're easy to be like hop between projects and they don't miss a beat when they do. Basically, there's never a dull moment around a mutable sign. Never, ever, ever. But on the flip side of that flexibility, it's sometimes hard for them to stick around for a long time. And this is like the opposite. It's they need it. It's the shiny toy syndrome, like the dog in Up, where it's like squirrel. It's that. It's definitely that for them as well. But if you keep their mind stimulated and everything is like always moving, not being too routine, then they do much better. Of course, this can be hard when it comes to long-term goals. So it can be difficult from them. But just like with the fixed signs, there's a balance that can be hit. As a mutable sign, adaptability is a great strength, but learning how to pair that with little consistency can really help harness that potential. And this is where like looking at your whole setup really is a thing. So the good news is that you don't have to totally give up your love for variety. You just have to try to focus on projects that allow you to have different aspects of yourself, right? In the end, mutable signs are basically like a Swiss Army knife. That's the truth, right? They can handle curveballs. They have something for everything. They're actually really, really great. Now, what I would say is that mutable signs I don't know, I love them so much, and as I was saying, this is where looking at all your big three, like you can look at your sun all day long, but the problem is that the moon and the ascending play a role too. So for instance, like I am a Capricorn sun, but I'm a Cancer moon and a Cancer rising, all cardinal signs, so there is that aspect, but that forms out, So one of my very close people in my life, they are a Gemini sun with an Aquarius moon and a Gemini rising. Woo-wee! So when you look at that, the moon is a lot about emotions. They're Aquarius, they're fixed signs. So when they love you, they love you and they don't let go. But everything else is very mutable. So yeah, it's interesting understanding the modalities. So let's talk about, we're going to talk about the houses, and then we're going to talk about the sun moon situation, okay? Because these is also, I want to really go into how this works for all of us. So the houses in astrology represent different aspects of your life, right? So career, relationships, such and such. Transits are how the movement of planets affect your natal chart. Both of these factors are impacted by the modality of your sun sign. So here's how it works. Cardinal signs, right? Cardinal signs are zodiac leaders. So when transiting planets move through cardinal houses, which are the 1st, the 4th, the 7th, and the 10th, there's a lot of major shifts, right? These houses govern self-expression, home life, relationships, and career. And with cardinal energy, you're likely to feel the need to make big moves in these areas, right? When a cardinal sign experiences a transit, it can stir up a lot of urge for action. It's like the now or never thing. So if Mars is transiting your 10th house, your career house, you might feel an intense need to push forward with the career goals or maybe take some risks. However, cardinal signs may find it challenging to follow through on these changes they initiate. So quick bursts of energy can lead to starting something without fully finishing it, right? So it's kind of what we said. Now, fixed signs love stability, right? We already talked about that. So when planets move through the fixed houses, which is the 2nd, 5th, 8th, and 11th, there's a more grounded energy to play. These houses rule finances, creativity, shared resources, and friendship. You're likely to experience like a steady, long-term changes in the house. For example, a Saturn transit through your 2nd house of income may encourage you to take a disciplined approach to your finances, right? Fixed signs may find these transits more comfortable because they prefer steady, gradual progress. However, fixed signs can also struggle with these energies when they challenge their comfort zones. So a transit through the 8th house, for instance, may bring up uncomfortable changes related to shared finance or emotional depth. And the fixed signs might resist this a little bit. That's just kind of who they are. Mutable signs adapt pretty easily, right? We talked about that. So the mutable houses are 3rd, 6th, 9th, and 12th. And you'll notice a more flexible or flowing energy in these, right? These houses are all about communication, health, travel, and the unconscious. Mutable signs will feel more comfortable with transits that require adaptability. So, for example, if Neptune is transiting your 3rd house, it could spark creativity, imaginative thinking, perfect for new ways of communication. However, mutable signs do have a tendency to be scattered, right? Get distracted. They may feel pulled in different directions during transits and then really need to work on balancing. The key is to embrace the flux, right? But also ensure that you aren't too easily distracted by new ideas in order to really move those. All right, so how do the different modalities affect the sun and moon position? Okay, so your sun and moon are two of the most important parts of your astrological chart. The sun represents your core identity, your drive, and what makes you shine, while the moon reveals your emotional nature, instincts, and needs. The modality of the sign they fall in will significantly influence how you express these energies. So, if you're a cardinal sign, sun and moon, cardinal signs give you a go-getter approach to both your identity and your emotional world. If your sun is in a cardinal sign like Aries or Libra, you're someone who thrives on initiating new things and pushing forward. You need change in action. If your moon is in a cardinal sign, your emotions are often intense and you may act quickly on your feelings. You can be emotionally independent, but you also get restless when life becomes stagnant. With your sun and moon in cardinal signs, you're always in motion, whether it's a new project or emotional shift. So, like I said, I am a Capricorn, which is a cardinal sign, and I am a Cancer moon. Therefore, everything about me is cardinal. It's a very fun time. All right, fixed signs when it's the sun and moon. If your sun and moon are in fixed signs like Taurus or Scorpio, you like stability, sticking with what you know. When the sun is a fixed sign, you have a solid sense of self and you prefer consistency in how you present yourself. You don't like to change just for the sake of it. And when you commit to something, you stick it, right? The moon in a fixed sign reflects emotional depth and loyalty. You're likely to stay emotionally grounded even when things get rough, but you could struggle to open up or adapt to new emotional situations. This means that you might find it hard to let go of things or people, even when it's time for a change, right? Mutable signs in the sun and moon. So Gemini and Pisces are mutable. You're flexible and adaptable, like I said, right? With the sun and mutable sign, you're likely someone who enjoys variety and can adjust easily to whatever life throws your way. You're probably for a life with less routine and more exploration. and you can thrive in situations that require you to think on your feet. If your moon is an immutable sign, your emotions are more fluid. You may find that your feelings shift quickly and you have a natural ability to empathize with others. You're likely to find comfort in a variety of change, right? So those are kind of just some looks at it. So understanding how your modality affects not just your personal style, but also your experiences with houses and trends and all that stuff gives a whole new way of really interpreting your astrological chart. Each modality has its unique rhythm, whether you're kicking things off, staying the course, whatever. So I think the biggest thing I'm trying to say here is, I know so many people go out there and get their birth chart and they're like, oh shit, this is a lot. I take a moment, take a look at your chart. Are you a cardinal sign who's always pushing for whatever it is? Look at your modality, where they fall, where the transit falls, and all that kind of stuff. Because whichever modality you fall into, it really can shape how you interact with the world. And knowing your modality can help you align with actions and emotions and life path and all that kind of good stuff, right? At the end of the day, every modality brings something unique to the table, and that's what I want to say. So, yeah, that is your modalities. That's a little bit about astrology. So hopefully it was helpful, and yeah, if you're interested in an astrological reading or a tarot reading or anything like that, you can definitely check out my Buy Me a Coffee or my Patreon. And there's ways to purchase a read there if you're really interested in diving deep into this. If not, just know that these modalities do play a role in everything. And once again, I will repeat, remember, these are blueprints. Life can change it. I know a Gemini who loves routine, like is great with routine. And that's just because of the way they grew up, right? So that's it for this week, guys. I hope it was helpful. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to check out Thursday's episode where I cover tarot. And as always, if you want to reach out to me, there's links to my social media as well as an email if you like to rock it old school. There's also links to buy me a coffee and my Patreon. And if you can't support the podcast financially, just like, review, share, and do all that kind of stuff, please and thank you. And also there's links to the Medium publication as well as my other podcast, Where All the Ladies At. So if any of that sounds cool, check out the description box. And until next week, guys, I'll see you. Stay curious and be blessed.